Hi everyone, I'm Silence, and this is something quite different from what I usually do. The idea of making a video about my work process was following me around for some time now. I didn't really give it much attention, thinking it wouldn't be anything too interesting to see, but then I was asked about some kind of a tutorial, and it changed my way of thinking. I decided to do a poll to check if you'd want to see something like this, and so here we are now. I want to thank you for engaging in the poll and for all the comments. They helped me a lot with creating this video. Before we begin, I have to say that I am not a professional animator. I am a self-taught artist, and my work process probably doesn't 100% resemble the process of the actual pros. It's more so a combination of my experiences and the way I personally like to work, so please bear this in mind while watching. This being said, I hope you can find something useful here. So now let's get into it. We'll start at the very beginning, the programs I use. So the main two that are the most crucial for my work are Clip Studio Paint for drawing everything and DaVinci Resolve for editing. Why those? Clip Studio Paint is a fairly easy software. It has a lot of tutorials, many assets and brushes ready to download from the internet. Now, it's not a free program, but the good thing about it is that you can purchase it once and have it forever. You don't have to do the subscription thing as in many other programs these days. However, if you don't want to spend any money, there are some good replacements out there. I think my favorite one's gotta be Krita. It's very functional and pretty similar in terms of what you can do with it. There's even a timeline that you can use for animations, and yeah, it sure does come in handy sometimes. As for DaVinci Resolve, it's a free software. It does have a paid version, but the free one has most, if not all, of the features that really matter. The main con is that it can be quite difficult to learn at the beginning. The learning curve is pretty steep, but it really does pay off in the long run. There is one more thing I want to mention before we move forward, and it's a software I think I might actually love the most. It made my life as an artist a lot easier, and it's PureRef. It's a free program that allows you to put all of your references, inspirations, anything you need to work in one handy place. It's very simple to use, and you can enable on top always, putting the window over your drawing program, for example, adjusting the size, even adding text on the references. It might not seem like a huge deal, but it really is a great quality of life software. Now let's move on to the next steps in creating an animatic: planning and scripting. It's also something that a lot of you asked about. How do you even come up with all the shots and keep it all organized? So usually it all starts with an idea. It can come from a song, a certain story, anything. First, I would like to focus on a question I got from one of you. The question is, just curious, I want to know if the buyer sends you a script and you have to follow it, like how it works. So there are two ways it can go. One, the commissioner has a specific script for the animatic, or two, the commissioner doesn't have a specific script and only has the story that will be shown in the animatic. Let's start with option number one. The script can be done in any form really, either in something like Google Docs, simple phone notes, a video, or a message. It can even contain some rough sketches or storyboards. The thing is, the script tells me precisely what has to happen at which point. It can have as many details as the commissioner wants to, from the scenes themselves to the movement, even color palettes. I don't mind working with strict instructions. I like interpreting them into the final thing, and it makes it easier to visualize what the commissioner has in mind. As for the option number two, in this case, I try to get to know the characters and their story as well as I can, and then I prepare the script myself based on that. I usually do these scripts in a video format with the audio chosen by the buyer already there, so it's easier to imagine what I have in mind in case there'd have to be any changes. For the purposes of this video, I've prepared one script in two different forms so I can kind of show you my thought process during the planning stages. Before I got up to it though, I had to first find the right idea, which wasn't that easy. I decided I wanted to make an animatic either for one of my OCs, Honeyleaf or Foxstar, or both. I wasn't entirely sure what I wanted to do exactly, like which part of their stories I wanted to focus on, and so what I did was go straight to Spotify, listening to many different songs until I found one that would make me like feel something about these characters, something that would match them well, that would spark the initial idea. So it was pretty fluid, as you can see. Sometimes you can have a clear idea from the beginning. Sometimes it's just a couple of scenes, or like in my case now, just the characters. I knew I didn't want the animatic to be too long, so I was searching for a song with a nice vibe that would have a part that would fit either Honeyleaf or Foxstar best. I settled on Megalomaniac by AC. Yeah, something like this. I probably butchered the name, sorry about that. Anyways, they have some amazing songs, and I found this one to fit perfectly. Okay, so as we established, I didn't have a specific idea as to which part of my character's story I wanted to tell, but when I was listening to this song, one part of it stood out to me. That's how this process usually goes for me. At this stage, I can already imagine how some of the scene would play out. I then download the song and edit it, cutting the part that I want to use. What I do then is I usually listen to it a few times, kind of creating the storyboard in my own head. It helps me shape the initial idea into something that has more sense. When I have most of the stuff figured out, I move on to scripting. First, we'll go through the Google Docs script. It's fairly simple and straightforward. For me, the script phase is the most important part. It's here that the ideas I had for the animatic get more tangible. Usually I do it somewhat like this. I would write out the lyrics and then what would be happening at each point of it. I could also add timestamps if needed. This ensures I don't get lost at any point, and I can always add or change the ideas if I suddenly get a better one for a specific scene. Now I'll show you the same script in a video format. I'm gonna use DaVinci Resolve to make it, so here's how it goes. Here we have the audio I added and edited before during the planning stage. Now what I do is just put the text boxes writing out the scenes with the song. It's very similar to the Google Docs one, only now I don't have to write the lyrics or timestamps since it's already here. And here is our final script.
Don't let them in, don't let them call your number. Won't you hold my hand as I go under? Ooh, come a little closer. Ooh, same as the last. Ooh, megalomaniac, cut my tongue. Better watch your back.
Alright, so now that the script is all done, I begin gathering references I'll need for the project, which of course includes the characters' references, inspirations, and stuff like that. I often end up adding things as I go whenever I need something specific, which is why PureRef is so useful for me. I save everything from the project in one folder so that it's all in one neat place. Having the planning and scripting phases done now, we can move on to the most time and energy consuming part. Actually drawing and editing everything. And here my process might seem kind of chaotic. You see, I don't do a full storyboard, not for PMVs, and especially not for animatics. Why? Simply because more often than not, doing that makes me lose motivation way faster. I don't really like focusing on just one thing until it's done. I prefer completing each part at the same time, which means my workflow usually looks like this. Sketching a few scenes, refining said scenes, editing them. I do as many scenes as I feel I can manage in one sitting. I keep switching between drawing and editing, working on smaller bits of the whole project at once. This way, I constantly see at least a part of the finished product, and I guess that keeps me motivated. But that doesn't mean it has to work the same for you. You have to find a way that suits you best. I'm not saying my way of working is super efficient, and I think a lot of the times doing a whole storyboard beforehand can be very beneficial for the whole project. I just find myself work better when I split the project into more parts, but I still try to keep all of the script in mind to make sure everything fits together. So let's begin with the first small bit, first few scenes of the Megalomaniac project. The way I do it is I create a folder for each shot. Then, when I'm exporting them, I name all of the layers by giving them numbers corresponding to those folders. I should probably talk a bit about the way I come up with the individual shots. as I said before, when I was still working on the script, I've listened to the song quite a few times, creating the vision of the animatic in my head first. Now that I have the script written out, it's easier for me to recall everything I had planned for each scene. So now I just repeat the process. I focus on one part of the song, imagining all the movement, emotion, everything that would go into a certain scene. Is the audio slow or more energetic? What's the vibe I'm going for? What are the feelings that the characters experience? What are they going through? These are the questions I would ask myself. Then I try to move all of this from my head onto the canvas. I know it might not be the best explanation, but frankly it's quite hard for me to describe it differently. I think what's important here is experimenting with the scenes themselves, different layouts, and just practicing a lot, which I know doesn't sound super exciting, but trust me, with the right projects it can be very fun. Of course, learning the basics of composition, color theory, things like that, it all helps a lot in this process, and it is important to know them. Now that we have our first scenes ready, I switch to DaVinci and begin editing them. I won't delve into the specifics of how to use this program since there are already many tutorials you can find online, and I highly recommend you to watch at least some of them if you're planning on using DaVinci, especially if you don't really have experience with other editing programs. It's basically here that it all starts coming to life in a way. I add movement, effects, and if I decide to add it, text as well. On this time-lapse, you can pretty much see how I tend to edit. I like doing the transitions kinda sharp, so the first few frames have a rapid movement and then it slows down a bit. Sometimes I also use the fusion tool. It looks quite intimidating and complicated, and well, when I first started using DaVinci, I already had experience with programs like Adobe After Effects or Sony Vegas, but the nodes in DaVinci did scare me a little bit when I saw them. But it's not as hard as I thought it was going to be, and it allows you to do all sorts of fun stuff. From now on, the process is rather straightforward. I keep doing the same things, working on small bits until I reach the end and the project is finished. So now that the animatic is done, let's see the final product side by side with the script.
Don't let them in, don't let them call your number. Won't you hold my hand as I go under? Ooh, come a little closer. Ooh, same as the last. Ooh, megalomaniac, cut my tongue. Better watch your back.
And that's pretty much it. I hope I was able to explain my process well and that you could find at least one helpful thing. If you still have any questions, please leave them in the comments section. I'd be glad to help out the best I can. I wish you all endless motivation and inspiration to work on your own projects. Bye!